In 1980, Procter & Gamble mailed free samples of their Rely tampon to millions of American homes. That same year, 772 women developed toxic shock syndrome. 38 of them died. Johnson & Johnson knew talcum powder had potential asbestos contamination in the 1970s. They kept selling it for another 50 years. The feminine care industry does not have a safety-first track record. It has a settle and reformulate track record. And the last product on this list? An entire product category that the medical world declared harmful, not reformulated, just abandoned. 5 feminine products that were exposed as dangerous and what replaced them. Starting with number 5, Rely tampons by Procter & Gamble. Rely was a super-absorbent tampon made from carboxymethylcellulose and compressed polyester beads. After insertion, it expanded into a cup shape that absorbed far more fluid than anything else on the market. Procter & Gamble marketed it aggressively, mailing free samples directly to homes across America. The problem was the super-absorbent design created ideal conditions for the bacterium Staphylococcus aureus to produce the toxin that causes toxic shock. The Centers for Disease Control linked Rely to toxic shock syndrome more than any other tampon brand. 71% of stricken women had used Rely. From 1980 to 1982, the Centers for Disease Control documented 1,660 cases. 88 women died. Procter & Gamble recalled Rely on September 22, 1980, after the Centers for Disease Control published its findings, not voluntarily. The recall cost Procter & Gamble over $75 million. What replaced it? The Food and Drug Administration mandated standardized absorbency labeling on every tampon box. Regular, super, super plus, maximum absorbency limits. Mandatory toxic shock syndrome. Warning inserts in every package. By 1986, menstrual toxic shock syndrome dropped to less than 1 per 100,000 women. The warning label in your tampon box right now exists because 38 women died in 1980. Number 4. The Dalkin Shield by A.H. Robbins Company. The Dalkin Shield was a crab-shaped intrauterine device inserted in approximately 2.8 million American women between 1971 and 1974. It had a critical design flaw. Its multi-filament tail string acted as a wick, drawing bacteria from the vagina up into the uterus. This caused pelvic inflammatory disease, septic miscarriages, and permanent infertility. At least 18 women died. Over 200,000 filed injury claims. 327,000 lawsuits in total, the largest tort liability case since asbestos at the time. A.H. Robbins filed for bankruptcy in 1985. They settled 9,230 cases for $378 million and established a $2.5 billion trust fund for remaining claimants. But here is the part that should make you angry. In June 1974, the Food and Drug Administration urged A.H. Robbins to pull the device from the United States market. They did, but they kept selling it internationally. What replaced it? The Dalkin Shield debacle led directly to the Medical Device Amendments of 1976, the first law giving the Food and Drug Administration authority to regulate medical devices before they reach the market. Modern intrauterine devices like Mirena and Paragard use monofilament strings that cannot wick bacteria and undergo rigorous safety testing before approval. Every medical device clearance process you rely on today exists because of what the Dalkin Shield did to 2.8 million women. Number 3. Johnson's Baby Powder with Talc by Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder was made from talcum mineral and marketed for generations as safe for babies. Women routinely used it in the genital area for freshness. Internal Johnson & Johnson documents revealed the company knew about potential asbestos contamination and cancer links for decades, but did not warn consumers. Over 50,000 lawsuits have been filed. In 2018, a Missouri jury awarded $4.69 billion to 22 women with ovarian cancer. Half of those women died. 6 died before the trial even started. 5 more died after. In 2020, the Food and Drug Administration found asbestos in a tested sample, and Johnson & Johnson recalled 33,000 bottles. In 2025, a Baltimore jury awarded $1.5 billion to a single mesothelioma victim, the largest individual talc verdict ever. Johnson & Johnson proposed $8.9 billion in a global settlement. A bankruptcy court rejected it in March 2025. What replaced it? Johnson & Johnson discontinued talc-based baby powder in the United States and Canada in 2020, then worldwide in 2023. The product was reformulated with cornstarch. It took 50 years from the first internal red flags to discontinuation. 50 years of selling a product their own documents flagged as potentially contaminated. That's not negligence. That's a business decision. And if you're finding this useful, just hit subscribe. No bell, no notifications, just subscribe, so this information reaches more women instead of another ad from the brands that hid it. Number 2. Massengill and Summer's Eve douches. At peak popularity in 1985, 37% of American women douched regularly. Massengill and Summer's Eve were the dominant brands, selling vaginal douching solutions marketed for freshness and cleanliness. Medical research through the 1990s proved conclusively that douching destroys the vagina's natural bacterial balance. It increases the risk of pelvic inflammatory disease, ectopic pregnancy, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, and is associated with cervical cancer and infertility. Douching does not clean. It pushes existing infections deeper into the reproductive tract. And the Massengill brand has an even darker history. In 1937, the S.E. Massengill Company created a medication using diethylene glycol, which is antifreeze, as a solvent. It killed 107 people, including children. That disaster directly led to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938. What replaced douching? Nothing. And that is the point. Douching rates dropped from 37% in 1985 to 12% by 2006. Massengill medicated douche was discontinued. Summer's Eve pivoted its entire business model away from douching toward external washes. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and virtually every major medical body now explicitly recommends against douching. An entire product category was declared medically harmful. The replacement is warm water. That is it. Number 1. NuvaRing by Merck. NuvaRing is a flexible hormonal vaginal ring that releases a combination of estrogen and a third-generation progestin called etanogestrel to prevent pregnancy. It has been sold in the United States since 2001. The specific type of progestin used in NuvaRing was linked to a significantly higher risk of blood clots compared to older oral contraceptives, roughly double the risk. A 2011 Food and Drug Administration report confirmed the elevated risk of venous thromboembolism. Nearly 2,000 lawsuits were filed. Approximately 3,800 women were eligible for settlement. Allegations included blood clots, strokes, heart attacks, pulmonary embolisms, and deaths. In February 2014, Merck agreed to a $100 million settlement, roughly $58,000 per claimant, without admitting fault. What replaced it? NuvaRing is still on the market, but now carries stronger warnings about clotting risks. Annovera, a ring approved in 2018, uses a different progestin profile. Non-hormonal intrauterine devices and barrier methods exist for women avoiding clotting risk entirely, but the fact that it is still sold with stronger warnings tells you everything about how this industry operates. They do not pull products, they update the fine print. Every product on this list follows the same 5-step cycle. Companies launch with aggressive marketing, they suppress or ignore early safety signals, and they wait for the body count or the volume of lawsuits to force action. They often settle without admitting fault, and then they reformulate or discontinue quietly. Procter & Gamble mailed free Rely samples while toxic shock syndrome cases climbed. Johnson & Johnson had internal asbestos memos for 50 years. A.H. Robbins kept selling the Dalkin Shield overseas after pulling it domestically. The industry does not self-correct. It gets corrected by lawsuits, Food and Drug Administration interventions, and public pressure. In that order. Every modern regulation protecting you, including absorbency labeling, medical device approval, and toxic shock syndrome warnings, exists because women were injured or killed before the rule was written. The lesson is not that every feminine product is dangerous. The lesson is that the brand did not do the safety homework for you then, and the brands in our last video are proving they still are not doing it now.